Okay. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:31. Roll call. Tom Barney.
Here.
Eric Brown.
Here.
And I am here, Michael Loth. Item 3, agenda revisions and approval.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 4, approve minutes. Approval of the April 8th, 2024 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 5, consent review and discuss. Item A, April vouchers. Brittany had no questions for the vouchers. I will.
Correct.
Nice.
Excellent. That means everything was in, there was one that I was kinda eyeballing, but I said forget it.
Well, we celebrated this morning.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent to payment vouchers as presented and reviewed.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 6A, reports and updates. Item A, April variance report. That is Brittany Altendorf.
In front of you today, you have the April variance report. I have to make a correction on the top of the report. It does say February 29th. That is my error, so it is the end of April for this report. There are a few things. We are, as of this report, 2 months until the end of the year, so we are planning our year end. With that said, on April 15th, we cut off all purchases unless they are purchases for maintenance needs, athletic needs, or there are specific curriculum such as science classes that will need
Living creature.
thank you very much. And then those are approved by the business office if they are items that should be approved after our cutoff date. Items do have to be received and used within the time period of them being purchased, so that's why we cut off on April 15th, because we have to make sure the item is received and used by the students by the last day of school. Otherwise, the auditors could say it has to be moved into the next year. But again, we do approve purchases if they are needed. One thing we also do at this time of year is we project out our salaries and benefits to see if we are on track to where we thought we were going to be. So we have a running report right now as payrolls are paid out. We make sure we are current. We are currently under budget in the payroll and benefit area for the payroll, for the salaries and wages. We are under budget because there were some outstanding positions that were not filled for a period of time. So we are currently under budget in that area. And then for benefits, we are projected to be slightly over budget in health insurance, which we knew we were going to be. And we are taking that into consideration when we budget for next year. So those two things were known, but we have a report that we now track. We'll track every 2 weeks when we pay payroll where we were at versus where we were projected. So we are currently, if you look at the report, we are currently spending about $1.2 million more than we did at this time last year. And then revenues are slightly higher last year than they were this year in Fund 10, and then slightly higher this year than last year in special education. So we are pretty much falling within where we projected our budget to be. So we don't see any red flags that we weren't knowing were coming up.
Question for you on that first page is the 1.29 million you just mentioned. Is there anything more you can say on it, or it just the way the bills fell? So what you just mentioned, that was one question I had for you.
Well, there are known increases, wages, benefits, We'd had increases in contracts. They're known expenses that
Okay.
because our budget is obviously higher than it was in the previous year. So for example, the general fund, last year it was 4.6, or $46 million. This year it's $49 million. So are we gonna spend more than the previous year? The answer is yes. So right,
Okay.
as of this report, it's about $1.3 million.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We can move on. Item 6B, GoFan sponsorship program.
Mm.
And we've got Brittany Altendorf for that.
Myself as well as Sarah and our Erdl are here, and she can speak to she deals with GoFan a lot more than I do. But currently we have the opportunity for people that are coming to our sporting events to purchase their tickets online. We also offer it to pay in person. For the people that want to continue to pay in person. Some school districts have gone completely online, and there have been complaints about that. So I think we will continue with the two options. With that, we do not pay GoFan, from what I understand. The person that purchases the ticket pays like a service fee, and that pays the service. And I believe that's $1 on top of their ticket that they pay just to be able to do it online. We've been with GoFan, I believe, for 2 years.
Believe so, yeah.
And then another item that they're rolling out this coming summer is the opportunity to advertise within their digital tickets. So if you've purchased a ticket, we'll say on your phone, you'll see the ticket on your phone similar, and there would be some type of an advertisement on the bottom of your ticket. There are many options when it comes to this. Currently, they are looking at, we would have one sponsor, just to start off. They would find the sponsor with our input, and then they would negotiate what would be the sponsor's dollar amount that they would pay towards having their advertisement on our ticket. If we went that direction, we would get 50% of whatever is the actual revenue from that. But I'm going to give you an example of if the sponsor said that they would sponsor $5,000, they would take off their fees off the top, and then after the fees would be then the split of the 50-50. So I asked if we were going to receive a breakdown of that, like if it was 5,000 and you took off 500 for your fees, and then we would split it. They said there wouldn't be a breakdown. So we would just get whatever our portion would be, but we wouldn't know what the original sponsor would be. That was my original question with that one. Another way that we could do it where we would find the sponsors in the district, and then we would get 100% of whatever the sponsor or the proceeds were. With that said, we would then internally have to do the work to find the sponsor, and then you could do it any way you wanted it. You could do it annually, you could do it by sport, you could do it by season, you could do it by month, you could do it however you would like to lay that out. So we have not done any of that work yet, or who would be in charge of doing that. We just wanted to let the board know that we were thinking about going that direction. We wanted to get feedback on it, and then we would also have to create some type of guidelines or handbook on what dollar amount equals what time, what dollar amount equals, what type of space. So we have not done that work either, but we wanted to get feedback from the committee before we moved in any direction.
And so you're aware too, sponsorship policy states that the board acts to approve sponsorships only for physical structures or fields. So this would be on a digital ticket, so we want to bring this idea forward, but it doesn't require board action to approve. So we've talked, the three of us met extensively a couple weeks ago and talked through all of these scenarios and thinking about how to start possibly small with a simple sponsorship on our tickets for the whole season, for the whole school year of seasons, and then progress after 1 year or two more, maybe season-based sponsorships, and looking at community, most likely food places that would want to sponsor based on certain seasons, whether it's fall sports season, winter sports season, spring sports season, and then that revenue would go back into the athletic department budget for field upgrades, uniforms, supplies, all the different things to supplement Sarah's budget.
Tom?
I appreciate the additional revenue opportunity. Do you have an idea of how many tickets or what percentage of tickets go through this platform today versus people just paying at the gate and getting their hand stamped?
It just depends. It really depends on the sport. But
Can
an
you
example
pick-
might be too, like
I
yesterday,
I
or
have a
this,
clarifying question, because this GoFan is also used for the student passes, correct? Or,
they can, yep, they
So
purchase
if-
their student pass through that
okay.
too, yep.
so.
And then we used it for prom on Saturday too. So,
So if they go like this at the door,
Mhm.
yeah.
oh, Culver's, that sounds good, right? Like then that's the connection, or wherever the place might be.
So we use it for sporting events and our dances, student passes, so it really depends on the sport, and then it also depends on that visiting school too. Cause some schools use it just online ticketing for like their conference, so they're used to that. And so they come here and they've already bought their ticket, so they'll see it too, and maybe on the way home, oh, let's stop at Culver's, Roberts, whatever, cause they saw it on their ticket that they purchased for our game. It's a mix here, we get both. In-person cash and then the electronic ticket or the sports pass.
Do you have a count of how many have been sold that way? Cause I think you'll need to get that if you're
We
gonna
could
go
pull
after
it.
our own sponsor, you're gonna have to say,
Yep,
look,
absolutely. It's all stored in the
you know,
database.
3,000 people
Yep,
will see this, or
Yep.
whatever the number is.
For sure.
If we go the route of finding our own sponsor, do we still have to pay the setup fee?
I don't know that.
I apologize, I didn't hear you.
Well, you said if GoFan finds a sponsor, it's 50-50 split after the setup fee gets removed.
Correct.
Well, if we find our own sponsor, do they still take out the setup fee?
No, because we get the platform, so we would literally
So
take
like
the
they give us a
logo,
website
put
and
it
we
in there.
upload an image to a
Correct.
website and it automatically lands on the ticket?
Right.
Okay.
They did come with the initial one, they took, our data from how long we've used the platform for the current ticket sales, and they came up with a dollar amount, thought they would go start to look for people. So they are using that data on what they believe would be in a dollar amount that they would start with.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I have.
And I just wanted to check, I think it's $1 per
Mhm.
ticket, so if they buy online, it's $1 extra than paying
person.
cash.
Mhm.
And, it's really not too bad in my opinion, especially if you don't have to stand in line at the ticket counter at the gate, but it's not meant to be negative or positive, it just might not be too bad. So is the idea that the sponsor would pay the $1 or a percentage thereof, or how is that?
No, so the dollar amount for us to have the ability to have online tickets would still be the dollar for the person that's purchasing the ticket. That
Okay.
wouldn't go away. This is just adding a logo of some type or a sponsor on the digital ticket, and the funds for who's paying for that to be on there would go straight to the district
Okay.
or be split 50-50. So the dollar would continue to be on there.
Okay, very good.
Is this used for the PAC?
I don't believe so. She has a different platform.
Any thought to consolidate into one?
No.
Please.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but yours is more seats, you can pick your seat, you can, those type of things where this
Fair enough,
isn't,
yeah,
this
this doesn't
isn't
allow
that,
that, okay.
This
Nope,
is,
that's fine.
I got a
I
ticket
wasn't-
into the football game,
Yeah,
so
there's
I gotta.
legitimate, I just didn't know if we were using two different platforms that were capable of the same thing.
I don't believe this platform is as detailed
Mine's
as hers.
also less expensive than that one.
Sir, how many teams in the greater metro use GoFan approximately?
I'd say about 8.
And some are just exclusive, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do we have any idea of the community, the businesses in the community interest in being at
We
this
haven't
point?
gone
We have no
there
idea.
yet.
Similar to the other processes that the districts go through, we'll just keep coming back with updates on where we're at with, when we move forward with this.
Okay, Eric,
if you go with the GoFan, finds a sponsor and manages the program as an annual renewal? Do you just keep signing with them annually, or is there a 2-year commitment to that? Or?
It's 1 year.
So hypothetically, to test the system, we could have GoFan run the whole thing. We could gauge interest, we could get solid numbers on what the participation is, then we could go out the second year and do our own.
Or I could come up with an agreement that they would do a certain period of time, and then once we realized what the platform was and figured out how we could do it internally, we could take that over.
Give you an idea of what it would take.
I mean, they're just rolling this process out, so the questions I ask, they are very flexible with the responses to me.
Obviously, if this is something that works, the three of us have talked about, then maturing this, as I said before, to specific sports seasons, and there's a dollar amount attached to it that's different because the winter season's longer than the spring season, those type of things. And then do we differentiate down the road sports that we know we have high interest in, and you know, so,
Yeah.
but to your point, Mr. Brown, the first year is really about, let's test run this with real controlled variables, and then we can learn from that. And still generate some revenue that wouldn't have been there with
Right.
minimal work towards it.
So if we opt for that first, where they find the sponsors, what's our say in who those sponsors are?
So we can either give them a list of sponsors we want them to go to, or they would go to whatever local sponsor that they come up with, and then they'd bring them back to us to say, what do you think about?
But there's some form of approval, just so we're on a.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we have to
Level
approve
of
it.
appropriateness, yes.
Yeah.
We have to approve it.
What could go wrong? All right, any further discussion on this one? We'll move on.
Okay.
Unfinished business, I don't believe there was any. And, okay, new business, item 8A, monthly purchase requests exceeding $15,000 and purchasing/project bid results. 8A1 is GHS soccer shelters. Sarah Unerdl.
Yes, so our boys and girls soccer teams are in need of some new team shelters. It would be for the home and away teams. The current ones we have are starting to show their wear and tear, and they protect our team from the elements, rain, snow, wind, you name it. Over the past year, Frank and I worked together with Mr. Stokowiak and his construction class, and we got some concrete slabs poured. So the structures are able to sit on that now before they were sinking into the ground. So that was kind of the first step. Now here's the second step, and we need to replace the overall shelters. So the soccer teams have secured the needed funding through various donations that have all been board approved. We're very appreciative of all those donors to get to this point. And now we're here tonight to look at 3 options. I think you have those before you. The one that our teams and I would really like to go towards is the Keeper Goals bid that's in front of you. They're local, and they have all the bells and whistles that I think would be appropriate for this space, including our team logo. And I think also too, with them being local, if we do need help with anything down the road, a replacement of this or that, they can come out and fix it right away. We have a great partnership with this company, and they lowered the cost to meet where we are with donations coming in as well. So they've cut off a couple $1,000s because that's what we had in donations. So that's my recommendation, to move forward and have this in place for the fall boys soccer season.
Okay, I noticed in the material there wasn't a photo for this particular vendor as compared to the other two, so is it a similar structure to the photos that we have?
It's similar, but it's higher quality too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are the ones we have today, are they rollout versions like this also?
Like on
They're
wheels.
Yeah, they're stored somewhere and we roll
They
them
stay out
Will they
all
stay
year
out?
round, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I don't think so. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the purchase of 2 shelters for the soccer field in an amount not to exceed $24,500, funding using, Fund 21 donations.
I will second that.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any further questions? When you say local company, Sarah, is it Wisconsin-based or,
Yes.
and is it really local or somewhere?
Like the
in
manufacturing of it.
Yeah,
Some of the parts might not be from Wisconsin, but I can look into that
they're
for
a
you.
local supplier. I was
Yeah.
just curious how
Yeah.
close they are. You know, are they in Germantown, Waukesha?
It's
Or
Butler,
Butler.
Wisconsin,
say it's
yeah.
Oh,
one in
Butler?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good, nice to hear they're local.
yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. All right, we are on item 8A2, Yamaha Grand Piano. Heather Ellis, this has been a long time in the coming, and very welcome. It's yours. It's all yours.
Thanks. You want me to give a little background on this?
Sure.
So this campaign for a new grand piano for the PAC in the district started a little after the PAC opened. We did not have a new piano with the facility. We've been using the Kawai that has existed. I don't have an exact number, but based on conversations, it's at least 50 years old, which is about the lifespan of a grand piano, and it held up really well for a piano being used as it was for the district. It's heavily used, I guess is what I'm going to say. So we started this campaign to purchase a new piano for the space for the district, community members, professionals, to come and play a concert piano for our very large stage. So the campaign has been going on. You should have a number in front of you about how much has been raised so far from the community. That was $20,100 is what has come in so far, even through COVID and all of that. There was a small group of people that have kind of participated in the decisions on what type of piano we should get, because that's a very big conversation. I don't need to go through all of that, but they did kind of land on this Yamaha CX6, CX7 is what we're looking to get. If you're thinking in terms of cars, it's a mid-high range. Pianos can get very, very expensive. I was originally looking at something kind of bare minimum, and I guess the group was like, no, we need to get something at least as good or better than what we had before, which is perfectly fair. And the CX6 and CX7 does land on that. The biggest difference between the two is the C6X is 7 foot, the CX7 is 7'6". The longer it is, the better quality sound you're going to get for a stage our size. Just because the longer is preferred generally, but that's really the only difference between the two. So we did do a number of quotes. One is certainly higher than the rest, so we're not going to look at that vendor, but there are 2 local vendors who supply these pianos. We kind of lean towards the C7X if the funds are available for that. And I did recently get in a reduced quote from Heartland for $42,400 for the C7X. I'm not sure if that's in your packet, but she just sent a reduced number this weekend for us.
Yeah, I don't think that's in the
It
packet.
is.
What was the
Yeah.
new number?
$42,400 for the C7X.
52.
$52,400.
Okay.
Yeah, I was,
Close.
I kept saying 42 and I was
Take it.
like.
Heather
I'm
had
sorry.
a coupon she turned in.
Deal.
It's been a long.
Well, I wasn't gonna.
Michael's eyes are.
Yeah, I mean, 42 is fine with me.
52,400. And just to
Motion would've been-
clarify on that quote, that is including all of the things that we have requested, delivery, setting up the cover, the humidity control system, the dolly, that is an all-encompassing number from that particular vendor,
That was from Heartland.
from Heartland. I have not gone back to ask Hilbert if they are interested in reducing their number, but this is where this is where we're at.
So the motion should be for 52,400, and also the motion does not say C7X. So I think that should be in there also, I believe. Okay.
You can add, the C7X in Heartland if you'd want to the motion.
Heartland is in there.
Okay.
So Yamaha grand piano, C7X. And it's 52,400.
400 is what they're quoting, yes.
Okay, and that includes the other things down at the
Yeah, it was a
bottom
little
of the quote.
confusing in the paper quote, but in her email, she specified that their donation would be covering all of those things, basically,
Okay.
so that's the number.
I reverse engineered the 58,248 number, so I knew what, where that came from. It wasn't super clear to me, but I think we got it. So, yeah, it's a long time in the coming. I think it'll be great on the stage. I don't know, was a piano used in the Hunchback of Notre Dame? Was it?
We have to use keyboards for that, cause you obviously can't get get a piano into the pit.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know this, but those keyboard parts are actually running through about 100 different patches electronically during the show to do different sounds. So for a musical, no, but it is used for all of our concerts. We have outside piano recital rentals. There's some Christmas stuff that uses it, and hopefully a lot more stuff.
Right.
And the piano we have currently is 5'3", so it was probably okay for the stage, the little gymatorium you guys had, and you know it's fine, but you know, we're looking to something that will pretty much last, you know, well outlast me in the PAC 50 years or more. Yeah.
So my question would be, is there some sort of maintenance program on it? Cause the more you're moving a piano around and obviously the use of it, that
Gets
we keep
roughed
it.
up. The nice thing
Mhm.
is that this piano will not experience the trauma that the previous one did. It will have a nice home. I do have a budget in the PAC for maintaining the Kawai that we have, so that would just get
Transferred over.
to this piano. If anything, over a year or two, it will end up probably being a little less, because it's not gonna need as much tuning
Right.
as the other one does. But we will still hold on to the old one. It will just replace some of the even older pianos in the district.
Will it live mostly on stage then?
This piano, the new one, depending on some factors, probably need to discuss with the music department. We will either build a box for it on stage in one of the wings, which there's plenty of room to do, and it would get locked up that way, or potentially the green room. But I just know that that is often also used as a classroom space, so I don't know if we want that. So, but either way, it will have a safe place where it's only getting rolled the minimum amount.
Okay, and then the dehumidifier that's in the list, would that be plugged in while it's
Yes.
in the box, I take it?
Yes,
Okay,
and it will
good.
need to get filled with water about once a week, but that's really it. The
So
tuning.
it's a
It's a
humidifier?
humidifier.
Well, I think
Humidifier,
it's a little
okay.
of both. It kind of senses
what it needs.
what it is,
Okay.
and takes care of it that way. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Tom?
Before you got the updated pricing, the option that wasn't recommended was over $7,000 cheaper.
That was
And
for
I guess,
the lower
There's different
model.
size.
Yeah.
Right, so, and you had mentioned you didn't go back to them and ask for updated pricing.
I did get a pricing for their C7X. I can look here.
That one was 57,595.
Yes, I trust your math.
Mm-hmm.
So the offer for the C7X from Heartland was because that was in their showroom already, which would generally mean it's at a lower cost than the other one that they have to special order. Nobody has the CX6 actually in their showroom. And the preference after discussing with the group was that they wanted a C7X, if it can be managed.
It's the 2023 model, which I don't think anyone needs to know, right? It's gonna sound the same as the 2024 model.
Yamaha is a really strong brand to go with. It's not going to be, some, Carnegie Hall type piano, but it is a very robust, long time proven, nice piano.
I will add the Hunchback of Notre Dame was fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, it was a very complex play, and it's not meant to sound bad. I thought $15 a ticket seemed a little bit pricey, and when I walked out the door at the end of the evening, I was like, that was a real bargain. That play was so good. The students did such a good job that I felt like I might have cheated you at $15 a ticket. I'm serious. It was really good. Board members and citizens and parents, you shouldn't be missing these things. They are really something. As far as the ticketing goes, my wife and I were in the front row, and somebody else had the same tickets for the same seats. So I meant to mention that to you before now, but
Okay.
the woman had it on her cell phone, and I pulled out my paper copy, and I said, well,
I'll take a look at that. The only time that happens is when somebody bought one for a different day and they just don't notice it.
that could be, I guess I didn't check the date.
Yes.
Was it you?
No.
An engineer would never be that.
I was certain that I was there on that, but just for everybody here, I will check to make sure I got the right date. I'm pretty sure I did.
Sure.
'Cause I was watching my schedule closely. Anyway, they sat next to us instead.
I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, we didn't have to arm wrestle or anything for the
You
seats.
pull out your badge.
So, no, I didn't. I'm sure they have no idea who I was. All right, I'd be.
So is the updated price is $52,400?
Yes.
And is that the all-in price with all the additional options?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Is this 100% donation funded or?
No, it sounds like 20,100.
20,100 is what has been so far raised from community members, and other fundraising activities, businesses. And I did bring a list of all of those people with me, but it's, and it keeps growing, so, yeah.
I think we could we still fill in keys on the piano in the lobby if.
Yeah, I'm sure, depending on what they wanna do. Yeah, I have a pile that need to get done, but the guy that knew how to run it left. So now I have to figure out how to run the laser engraver. But we'll get that done and get it updated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make a motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the purchase of a Yamaha Grand Piano Model C7X from Heartland Piano in an amount not to exceed $52,400, funded using Fund 21, donations, and Fund 80 Community Service Fund.
I will second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Question, how fast can it get here and when will its first use be?
I haven't asked, but since it's in stock already, I would imagine it's just a matter of booking the transfer of it. There's a choir concert coming up at the end of May, so I will see if we can get it here before then. But I haven't asked because I wasn't sure who we were gonna go with. Yeah.
Okay, very
No,
good.
You wouldn't get board approval for a couple weeks yet,
Okay.
but
Gotcha.
depending on how soon they can turn it around after that. And you can have
Understood.
it for your event.
Yeah, well, in 2 weeks, right? So, it should, I think it'll go through the full board, most everyone is here. Anyone have any objections?
I can maybe give them a little bit of a
I was gonna say,
heads
give
up
'em a heads
then, and find out when it
Yeah,
could be
we'll, like,
here.
See if you can
Quickly.
schedule delivery for a couple days after the board meeting.
Yeah,
Uh,
would assume if there was any
Um,
drastic concerns. they'd-
As long
Yeah.
as it's not a TID,
Oh,
if it comes to the board with a positive recommendation, it usually goes through,
It's fair enough.
right? Okay, any further commentary? See how much fun we have here?
We will definitely have some kind of event to celebrate this piano, probably next season. That will be something that needs to happen, and just offering thanks to all the community members that helped make it happen.
Yeah, and I can't remember the woman's name, but there's a woman that always volunteers to play. You might know
At
her
the
name?
concerts?
Yeah, at the,
Julie Fraley, and she also did contribute to the campaign, so.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
Fraley plays for all of the high school concerts, for
I'm
sure.
no, expert piano aficionado, but she's great, she's really great on the piano, and she sounded great on the old one. This one's gonna really be something. And all of this comes from a car guy, so car guys aren't supposed to know about pianos, and I don't, but I do go to these events for, to kind of be a,
Culture.
well, cultured, or let's call it continuous learning, a continuing learner. So, okay, any more questions? or
Would you be
comments?
able to have an update the night of the board meeting to say if we approve today, we would be able to have delivery by?
She's been very quick about her responses, so
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
good to
I
know.
can have that for you guys.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to item 8A 3. And this is going to be, how's he gonna run the camera and this at the same time?
He's
Jeff-
talented.
We gotta be
Yeah,
quick.
E-rate network and battery equipment, Jeff Crawford. Thank you.
Bringing forward is for the purchase of network equipment and batteries, and also access points, network equipment. That is part of the E-rate program that every year is put on for like the library and school funds. So you get a discounted rate on equipment that's infrastructure related in the IT world. So this basically is a list of things that we have that we're replacing. On that list, there's 138 access points, 4 batteries, and these batteries are extra ones that we have to hopefully gain a little bit more time from when the generator kicks over to if the power goes out, because right now we have about 2.5 minutes. So if something goes wrong, we don't want to bank on it all in one time.
Yeah.
And then also network switches that are being replaced at Kennedy. There's a couple closets that are left that have old network switches that are past their support life, so we can't update them, and they just became end of life. And then there's 3 of them at the high school too. So, and then it'll get us as current as we can be on all of our network and infrastructure stuff. So the E-rate's a good way to take advantage of the funding coming back, so we get about 40% back.
Okay. And the question I had was, do you know about how old these 138 access points are?
They would be pre-referendum, so they'd be around 2016, 2015.
Okay.
So they are just around like when Network N came out, and now they're on AC, so it's progressing pretty far. And it's in part of a replacement cycle that we do anyhow. We usually do them in groups. So this last big group is essentially the high school, because they have the most connectivity out of everybody. And then this also includes the gyms, the field house, the main gym, the PAC, and I believe that's it for big spots. So, which with the referendum, they had the incorrect antennas ordered for those. They were meant for low ceiling, high density, but they're very high ceiling and very high density. So this will correct some issues, which then will also help with like the online classes and stuff like that, so people can get online and be able to get their tickets or whatever they need.
The internet will work better.
Yep. Bottom line, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
the tech thing.
Very good.
Does
Way to
our,
connect in.
does our phone system run through the network?
Yep. And that's
So-
all hardwired, so that would, that'd be part of the Kennedy switch.
Well, but having better batteries would be a good thing then.
Yep, because essentially that'll keep 911 available and online a lot
Yeah,
longer.
that was my concern.
Yep, and all those phones power from the switches, so it kind of relays. So the batteries are on and powering the switches, and the switches will power the phones. So it's kind of a
Got it.
relay that way.
So the 2.5 minutes, was that at KMS or the high school? or-
That's at the high school.
At the high school?
Yep, high school's got the shortest time, and that's the hub. So that one's the one we want to keep on the longest. So this should extend us to the way we're DVing them up a little bit different, and with newer switches and stuff, the power ratings go down with them because they get more efficient over time. We're hoping to get like around 47 minutes to 50 minutes out of it. So then if
Excellent.
something happens, you have time to react versus if the generator doesn't kick on, you don't have time to react to it. So
Okay. Yeah, 2.5 sounds a little.
yeah, it's a little short. It's a little short.
Sketchy at best. Very good. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll bring forward with positive recommendation to the Board of Education to purchase E-rate network and battery equipment for up to $109,072.16 based on funds available from CDWG as the winning bid for the RFP.
I'll second. Discussion.
Okay, motion by Eric Brown, second by Tom Barney. Any further discussion?
I guess the motion just sounds weird as from CDWG. Normally it's from Fund 80 or fund from 10.
And it's, the E-rate's weird because technically the money goes from E-rate to CDW, and then we get it from CDW, so we pay the
Okay.
portion that's left. So it's kind of a hard thing to word.
And E-rate's a little different, as in we have to get it approved now. He has to submit it to E-rate, but it's not a purchase till next year.
Yeah, it is,
So you won't see the voucher for it for a
till
while.
July at least. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so next year as in school year,
Yep.
Correct, sorry.
Yep.
after July 1st for
New
all
fiscal
those
year, yeah.
viewing at home. Okay, very good. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Next item is item 8A4, 2024-2025 district copy paper purchase. This ought to be great.
I'll try and make it fun.
Jeff Crawford.
So I just went out and got a paper bid for this next coming school year. This will be white paper, yellow, pink, green, and blue as the colors that we get. And I was able to reach out to a couple new vendors just to try to, it's paper, so it's not that exciting. So just see what everybody had. And one company came back pretty substantially lower, and they came out at $20.50 a box versus our normal. Last year we were at about 35, so that'll give us a little savings on the back end of that.
That's excellent.
And then color went up a little bit, but surprised both of them didn't go up as inflation hit, but color went up just a tiny margin. So that one went from 47.30 to 52.10. So, but we order a lot less color, so it actually was a pretty good compromise.
Okay, very good. Well, it's nice to see something dropped in.
Right.
A little.
Oh, I was nervous for a little while.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I will entertain a motion.
Bring forward to the Boards of Education with a positive recommendation to purchase white and color paper for $30,192 from Contract Paper Group as the winning bid for the RFP.
And I will second that.
Okay. Motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any further discussion? Russ Ewert. Mr. Ewert.
Oh, so close.
Probably more for Brittany's office.
No.
Are we confident that this is gonna get us through the school year? It's the same amount as we ordered this year, and we're hearing grumblings that that may not be enough. Can you speak to the totality of that a little bit more?
Correct. We are ordering the same amount that we did last year. We are putting some new items in place. For example, we are going to move forward with an online signature.
E-signature. Yep.
E-signature, thank you very much. E-signature platform, so then the sites as well as the district office can move towards doing a lot more online instead of, for example, me having to print a contract, sign the contract, you know, and then copy it in and send it back to the vendor. Field trip permission slips, we're gonna look as a leadership team on items that we can move more electronically, not necessarily for the students, but for like the district procedures, I guess, that we have. Another item that we are looking into is looking at what curricular needs are in the printing versus what is just printing for classrooms. So I know that with either a new writing or reading curriculum or math curriculum, there is printing that needs to happen. So we are going to track that to make sure that's separated from like the what we need as the curriculum versus what we do in all the other parts of our district. So there is stuff that we are putting in place to not necessarily reduce the paper that the classrooms need, but just the paper that the overall district needs. This is a reduced cost. This is not the amount that we're putting in the budget. We're going to keep last year's budget in there, so we do have some flexibility. The next year is if we come to a point where there is not enough paper, there is more in the budget to be able to purchase more paper. Instead of maximizing the budget right at the front, we have a reduced amount here, which you see is $30,192, but I believe last year we spent around the $35,000 range. So we will budget that appropriately to know that we can continue to purchase if needed with the other things we put in place.
So that'll be earmarked?
Correct.
Because that's my big concern, because we are implementing some new curriculum.
Yes.
I would anticipate a higher demand. What is our use year, do we track year over year? I mean, are we using?
Paper?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And it has increased drastically over the last couple years. So we're trying to figure out the why behind it as well. We weren't tracking necessarily the usage in the previous years, so we didn't have a baseline. We just knew from the paper consumption, like the paper is going away.
Yeah,
But we didn't.
The pallet was empty.
Correct, the pallet's empty. And it's at what time of the year are the pallets becoming empty, and now they're becoming empty earlier and earlier, even though we are ordering, the same amount of paper. So finding out the why behind it's important, and that's what we've started to do with tracking where the copies are coming from, what sites, what person, are they students, are they staff, and what is the purpose of the copies as well.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with what you guys have going forward, especially knowing there's some extra money in it, but understanding the why and then making sure there's some expectations built out around use, so we're not just, for lack of a better description, printing the dictionary.
Right.
May help. So I'm interested to see that. This is the third year in a row that I've been a part of this conversation, and it seems redundant at this
I was
point.
just gonna use that word. Yes.
So I'm glad there's some steps being taken here,
Mhm.
along with some nice cost savings that allow us to pat on the back end to make sure.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Hearing none, All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, next, item 8A5, CISA 6 Math Center Agreement. Jake Misiak.
Alright, so this year, teachers have been engaged in learning with CISA 6. We've done it both at the elementary and the middle school level, so we have been working with that core resource that we have at the elementary level, which is Bridges, and then our new resource, which is Open Up Resources at the middle school level, and we've backfilled that with professional development to use both of them. So this agreement is a continuation of the work that CISA 6 has done with our teachers. So throughout this year, we've worked to try to build more consistency with Bridges implementation. One of the things that we had noticed in my first year here in Germantown was that there was inconsistency in implementation with that resource. The professional development that we provided to teachers was to strengthen those practices within the resource. And then likewise at the middle school, having a new resource, making sure that that resource was implemented effectively. So this agreement is an extension of the work that teachers have done this year. With every professional development training that our teachers get, we get feedback from teachers on the professional development that our CISA 6 rep has provided, and this agreement continues with that same person because she's built a lot of capital with our teachers, especially at the elementary level, at both levels, but our elementary teachers really enjoy her. So this is a continuation of that agreement with Sarah Fleshman to be our professional development provider and continue the work that she's done at both of those levels. There is a small shift in the work that she's doing. This is a reduction in the amount of services that she's providing to us, and it's a shift in that there's less support provided at the elementary level. Part of this is because at the elementary level next year there's additional training that teachers are going to need associated with Wonders, and there's an additional training that they're going to need related to Act 20. So to not overwhelm our teachers in terms of the amount of professional development that they're provided, we have reduced the amount of time that Sarah's working with our teachers, and we've shifted it from professional development days to the in-class coaching that she can do, so she can go into classrooms while there's students there and work collaboratively with our teachers as they're instructing students.
Okay, and the dollars, the funding source, is it
ESSER.
ESSER
Yep,
dollars?
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
learning loss money.
okay, very good.
That expenditure will happen before its expiration.
Correct. Mhm.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with a positive recommendation to the Board of Education, the proposed agreement with CISA 6 Math Center for an amount not to exceed $29,300.
I will second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any further discussion?
Does it need to be noted that it's ESSER dollars in the motion?
It doesn't need to be in the that's right.
I've got a note, I'll mention it, for the full board meeting. And, I think citizens and taxpayers like to know those things. I figured it was ESSER dollars, it's along those lines where you catch up.
The loss of learning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Next item is item 8A6 Chromebook purchases, and we've got Jake Misiak again. It says Director of Teaching and Learning.
Mhm.
Still me.
We've only got one.
Last year, we had purchased some touchscreen Chromebooks to be housed in our library. Part of that was to expand the utilization for our students who weren't one-to-one. With the implementation of Wonders, There is an adaptive learning component that can be accessed that's online, so there is some practice that students can get, and it's tailored to them. So this purchase is one of those ways that we can enhance and increase our students' access to technology, especially in the lower elementary. But on the opposite side of that, at the upper elementary, they can use the touchscreen feature, which is not available to them on their normal Chromebook. So there are certain apps and there are certain populations of students who benefit from using the touchscreen versus the normal Chromebook. So this increases our fleet, which would put 2 Chromebook carts at each one of our elementaries that would be available to check out from the library that teachers could pull into their classroom for those specific purposes. Or one of the practices that we have at the elementary is at grade level we'll check it out so that it's part of the rotations that students are doing, so that one classroom doesn't have all of the kids on Chromebook, but they divvy it up between 3 classrooms, and there are 10 Chromebooks being used in each one of the classrooms. So this increases our students' access to that technology.
Very good. So they will be equally divided amongst the 4 grade schools?
Correct. Each one of the elementaries would get 1 Chromebook cart that would have 30 Chromebooks in it.
Okay, very good. I will accept a motion.
Motion to approve the purchase of 120 touchscreen Chromebooks, corresponding Google licenses, and 4 charging carts from BDJ Tech for an amount not to exceed $47,170 using Common School Library Aid.
I will second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any further discussion? Funding source?
Library aid.
Library. Okay, very good. Oh, that's right, it's right on there at the end. Okay, any other commentary? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Okay, item 8A7, roof replacement. Frank Lord.
Yes. So this is roof replacements. I was almost positive I had an S on there at one point in time, so I apologize for that. Must have ran off. But the gist of it is that the Rockfield roof section C3 and MacArthur's section C are in need of replacement. They're both 23 plus years old. The best information I could find was Rockfield was replaced in 2000 and Mac 2001. Both of these are part of the 2023-24 planned capital projects within the 5-year capital improvement plan that was presented to the Buildings Committee and full board in this last February. Each of these sections have been an ongoing issue with several repairs over the years. Obviously, they get more and more abundant as each year goes on, so I figured these are 2 good ones to get knocked out. Actually, one of them currently has a rather large leak that we have fabricated a patch for. So with hopes of moving forward with this, that will be taken care of. I did want to make a quick note that the cost of these as compared to the estimates on the 5-year capital are higher. That is because the insulation shot, you don't really know going into it, but then some added flashing and 2x4s that are stuffed up in there that need to be replaced. So that's I just wanted to give that as a quick recap so you're aware.
Okay.
Attached I have the maps. It's the blue section there at Rockfield for C3, and it is the yellow section here on MacArthur. I know that that rooftop is, and this looks like a carnival, but the white is technically, it's a PVC roof, and the red tops, that is the metal roofing that they have on the new addition.
Okay, so it's the yellow
Yep.
section. Yeah, it looked to me, like the white.
Sure.
Obviously was it. And I was wondering what that yellow section on the side was.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Yep. Yeah, so here are the layout. We did have 2 different vendors or contractors selected or recommended here due to the lowest cost for the job, and both companies are proven to be good contractors, so I have no worries that way.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the replacement of Rockfield Roof Section C3 using Performance Roofing in an amount not to exceed $72,764. MacArthur Roof Section C using Langer Roofing in an amount not to exceed $72,300, funded out of the Capital Improvements Budget Fund 41.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any further discussion? Yes, Eric?
Frank, have we used both these companies before?
We do have a history with both of them, yes.
Okay.
Most recently, Langer. We actually use Langer quite a bit for roofing repairs in general. They were a large contractor as part of the referendum and following.
Is there a difference between the process or the materials used between roofing Rockfield and MacArthur?
No, these will all be the same materials, just to what extent and the extent of fabricating with flashing and things of that. Curb work, we're removing 2 exhausters that are abandoned to get them off the roof, and we'll patch that in. Cover, it won't be a patch in, I shouldn't say that. It will be covered over as the part of the entire roof.
'Cause I'm looking at these bids, and I see Performance Roofing, there's about a $2,000 difference between the two schools. Langer has about a $6,000 difference. I'm just trying to figure out why one is putting such a premium on.
Yeah, there really isn't. Their materials are all lined up to be the exact same, which I don't attach. I mean, it's not that it's considered junk mail, but it's usually not necessary to look at the material costs as a breakdown. But the materials are all costed out separately with these contractors. So there's one material provider for these contractors in this single bid process, which is the lowest cost for materials, I should say. But essentially what it comes down to is some of these is just schedule outlooks, honestly. And unfortunately, whichever estimator of theirs came out that day could just be, honestly, it can be a $2,000 swing just like that.
Yeah, one's a $2,000, one's a $6,000 swing.
Sure, sure.
And if we just go with the lowest bid, that's the about 145,000. If we stick with one contractor and give just one contractor the business, that's a difference of just $2,000, and we have the consistency of using one contractor and building a relationship
Sure.
with more of a local company.
Sure.
So is that something we want to consider in taking a look at this? Is there a benefit to using one contractor between the two schools?
Honestly, there really isn't, just because of the fact that they're gonna have to remobilize on both locations. And that's why it was bid out the way that it is, typically with 2 different schools.
That was
keep it
gonna
that
be
way.
my question. Did you bid it out saying this school and this school, or
It's
give me
this
a bid if you
project
do
and
both
this
of them?
project. And that's typically how I do 2 separate buildings. Last year, with the high school, obviously, that's one mobilization. If I would've done another roof on GHS, I would've put it all as one large project, so 2 sections included.
Okay.
I don't have a tight-knit relationship with any of these companies, but I have worked with all of them, with no major complaints or red flags. But with that being said, I shoot for the lowest budget with still having quality, which did not raise a flag for me here, but I most definitely could look at it a different way if preferred, I guess, in the grand scheme.
Russ?
Just to lend a little context, and I don't remember the number, and I think you've spoken to it in the past, to help people understand the size of the scope of some of the issues we deal with in the district regarding buildings, an acreage of roof. That we're.
Yeah, so before the referendum, the number that was thrown around was 20 acres. And I've guessed after the referendum, it's probably 25. But don't quote me on that. And so the idea was that we would typically re-roof 1 acre per summer. And I think this is, just based on dollars, this one is a little bit on the lean side. So and it's unfortunate that, but this is the way it works. The referendum, the roofs were not all done in the exact same year, but they're just a few years apart also. And those will all come due in about 20 to 25 years, so it's kind of how it works.
I asked for that information just to add context to what Eric's talking about regarding to building a relationship with the contractor. If that bears any weight in that, but.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, you know, we've got 2 schools getting done over the course of the summer, and we're sure with 2 different contractors that they're gonna get done. I think if the contractor's big enough that they could do 2 different buildings at the same time, and they probably are, but if they could do 2 different buildings at the same time, they would, or they would quote accordingly. So I'm not sure why there's a little bit of dollar difference here, but I think Frank stated it correctly.
Maybe to Mr. Brown's point, in the future, you could ask for, what's the cost for this building, what's the cost for this building, and what's the cost if we give you both projects?
Sure.
And see if there's a reduction if we award that company all of that business.
Would it also make sense to, what Mr. Loth said, also bring up timeline, so that, yeah, it might be cheaper to go with one contractor, but that project could take place over the course of the summer and infringe on the start of the school year, or those type of things too, just so we know the scope. I think
Right,
that,
yeah,
to your
yeah.
point, I understand that using 2 different contractors.
And that's why I was wondering why there's such a cost increase if they're kind of saying, we'll do one of these schools but not the other.
Right.
We just can't schedule it.
That would be good to know, is what you're saying.
That might
Right.
be it. The question I have is, on our building tours, Frank, you had mentioned a bad spot at County Line towards the new wing.
Oh, sure, that,
Is that,
flashing build.
so it's not on here, are we okay with that?
So it's on a, we do have a temporary fix on it now. I'm gonna be getting a number on a repair, but I don't foresee it being,
This year anymore?
I don't think so, but I'm gonna find out within the next month or so here where the rest of the capitals kind of fall in. If it is something, then I'm gonna play the game of, let's bring it to now and then move forward with it.
Okay, just wanted to,
Definitely.
That's on the capital improvement plan, right?
I believe it is, yes. Yep.
It's just a matter of where it
I would
fits on
tell,
the timeline.
yeah, I think when I first brought it to attention, I think I had it at 3 years out, so it's probably next year, because I do not believe I moved on this last update. But I can confirm that for sure as well. That's just that whole prioritizing.
yeah, so a lot of times the 1 acre of roofing is about 250K
Sure.
or 300K, so this is actually a lean year. It might be a good time, I don't know what Brittany thinks, might be a good time to pull in a small section
Definitely.
on County Line if we can.
Yeah, my next roof sections were gonna be the big, we're all pretty much big dogs, I say, at Kennedy, so, that would really blow out my capital funding
Right,
in December,
right.
so I wanted to, you know, I was in that threshold, so I will plan on utilizing that, any funding that I may have to get in projects earlier if possible, so, to fill that void, so to say.
So this is why we have building tours, because you can find out all sorts of things you might not otherwise know. Not that Frank is holding out on us or anything, but you know, it's a reminder, you know, while you're there, oh, yeah, by the way, this is going on at this particular building. I had no idea that there was a bad spot between the old building and the referendum construction. I wish it had been taken care of back when the referendum was done, but I don't think, you know, none of us knew about it.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. And item 8A8, asphalt repairs and replacements. Frank Lord.
Yes, so this was mentioned on the building tour as well. County Line's north lot, the playground area, consisting of 34,460 square feet of asphalt pavement, is in need of resurfacing. This is something that is on the 2023-24 planned capital projects within the 5-year capital improvement plan as well. There are several safety issues, concerns between large potholes, cracks, uneven surfaces, missing pavement, etc. But it also plays a big factor in the direction of our water and getting it to the place that it needs to be for several other safety concerns. We have the aesthetic daily operating portion of it that rain and melt-offs create for all of the students on the playground and staff alike is getting to the point where it's very difficult for them to handle, and they're coning off larger and larger areas at a time. So with the need of replacing the lot itself, this will also help us kind of form that, and well, it will create a natural funnel or swale down to the north, up to the north west side of that lot. And then we will follow up with any necessary landscaping, which I do not foresee to be any massive cost by any means, but a little icing on the cake.
Is the intent really to go to the west of the shed there, or was it to the east of the shed when we were talking about it? You know, the arrows on this map look like to the west, but your crushed rock is to the east of the shed from the last building tour.
Yeah, I think the arrows, because of the drag of it, that does look like it's overcomping on that, but the corner itself is technically on that east side of the shed. So we're gonna try and do our best between a catch basin for a redirect right there, or something that is, you know, safe and can be left open rather than, you know, that riprap rock and everything else in that area, to clean it up and redirect it and bring it more towards, let's just say in general, the park area.
Yeah. And the yellow line here, is that a curb or?
That will be that's a rolled curb, and that will be concrete. That section,
Kind of
18-inch.
Angled up a little.
Nice slow ramp. ADA considers it safe without a trip hazard.
Do they plow snow to the north on that lot? Just
They do. Yep.
So it's
And
okay for
so this
snow
round.
plowing?
Yep, definitely. And I'll also, you know, anytime I get new curb work, I make a point to point that out to the any contractors or staff that are plowing
They're
as well.
plowing.
Those are
Yeah,
good
like
snow
treated.
hills for recess, right?
Definitely.
Kids
Yeah, I
like
don't
that.
think we can get rid of those.
They do.
We wouldn't wanna take the kids, the students' snow hills away, right?
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah. Oh, Russ?
Can I just piggyback on your conversations of the water flow and to the, being more to the east of the shed than the west of the shed? I know while we were on tour, we were discussing the intent, there was intentional thought about making sure we're not dumping our water into the neighbors' properties there.
Right.
So if anyone's looking at this, that thought and conversation very much so happened.
Definitely.
We're not trying to
Yeah,
flood
no,
somebody's backyard.
I would like to say, yeah, that with all intentions, we will stay away from any community or neighbors on that west side for sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. I didn't say
Drain
it
tile
in
necessary,
so
yeah.
many, I didn't say it in so many words, but that's what I meant. I wouldn't want it to be to the west of the shed if I was the neighbor over there. And, we wish to be good neighbors, I believe. Okay, I will take a motion.
I'll bring forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation to approve the asphalt mill and pave full depth on County Lines North Lot using All Pro Asphalt Paving Inc. in the amount not to exceed $111,659 funded out of the Capital Improvement Budget Fund 41.
Second.
Okay, motion by Eric Brown, second by Tom Barney. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Tom?
What's the reasoning behind a 4-inch pave in the parking area and 3-inch on the playground, even though both will have car traffic?
It's really based on the pitch and their engineering of what will get the most abuse for the layout. Now it could change in certain areas. Now we will get this cost no matter what, but there might be a 4-inch in some of that playground area depending on how that pitch and the layout actually turns out. So that driveway apron that's coming in, that would be another part that would get a 4-inch. Essentially to give it a little bit more of a backbone above all the crushed aggregate.
Okay.
You know, it's just
Thank
that
you.
little,
Yep.
little extra. Now, there are times where I have in the past asked for 3 inches rather than 4 in areas out of a recommendation, and honestly, budget costs. Not here, but, you know, where I was really biting on pennies, and I didn't think it was necessary. So, I mean, there's ways, unless they want to, they'll slap their hand and tell you, no, you have to do this, otherwise they'll be replacing it in a couple of years again, so.
Okay.
To Tom's question, just going back to the building tours, while we were there, that's the pickup line, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep,
Vehicles come around, so it's gonna see daily traffic throughout the
It's the,
school year.
Yeah.
the perimeter of the lot in a counterclockwise rotation,
Yep.
so the 3 inches you feel will be good enough for that type of traffic. I mean, it's probably is a little different vehicles sitting on it all day also versus, you know,
Parking
driving
lot type of.
a little bit. I was happy to see, you didn't mention it while on tour, but I see 8 inches of crushed aggregate here.
Yep.
I'd pointed out that when the west lot was redone, the base, the aggregate was terrible, and really, I think we ended up spending a lot more money than we had planned on it,
Sure.
because there essentially it was practically, blacktop was practically put down on dirt.
Yeah.
So I think that could, you'll have to give us a report on that, because it's likely this isn't gonna be much different on the north side of the building.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I definitely
just
will.
let us know.
I will.
We can't go back to, you know, 20 years or 30 years, whenever it was paid, but just curious
Yeah.
on how bad it might be.
Definitely.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. And then, MS Reading Resource Recommendation, Jake Miziak. So is that middle school? Middle school. I should've wrote
You're
that
getting
down.
good at this.
The what?
You're getting good at this.
Yeah, I should've wrote it down in my notes. It seemed obvious when I read it, but just now it didn't. I'm under such pressure. Okay, Jake, it's all yours.
Earlier this evening, the Teaching and Learning Committee received a report about the process that the reading review team used at the middle school, as well as the key features to StudySync. At that time, the Teaching and Learning Committee provided a positive recommendation to the Finance Committee for the purchase of our new middle school resource. So at this point, I'm bringing the recommendation from Teaching and Learning to the Finance Committee for a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the StudySync resource by McGraw-Hill.
I think it's fascinating that
Okay.
Teaching and Learning just approved it earlier today, and it's already in our packet.
That's efficiency.
It's Brittany, you know, she's really on top of things. Probably Chris also.
That's Chris.
A question for you, based on approved paper purchases. Do you see much printing of materials going along with this reading program?
So one of the residual benefits of Wonders and StudySync, both of them have a consumable that goes along with it, so both of those ELA resources should be a net reduction in paper from our current resources.
Okay, so we will be purchasing consumables, but not,
Yeah, this agreement includes 6 years worth of consumables to go
Okay.
along with it. At the middle school level, more so than at the elementary. Wonders does have the capability for students to work online for some of the components so that they can use their Chromebooks. That's obviously phased in as the students get older, so you'd see it more at 4th and 5th grade. In 6, 7, 8 with StudySync, there is the option to do some of the work online, especially when they're talking about their extended writing projects. That's something that they can type up, but it also has a peer review feature, and it's an anonymous peer review feature, so they don't have to print something off to give it to somebody else for editing. And they can also submit them to their teachers in that same way. So the net result should be that there's a decrease for both the elementary and middle school literacy programs for this. There is still some resources that they can physically print in both of them, but net, because of those consumables, I would anticipate a reduction in paper for those 2 areas.
okay, very good. Yeah, I didn't mention it in the teaching and learning, but I perked up a little bit when I heard you mention that students would sometimes read the same material twice, you know, because they might not have understood it the first time. Teachers can inform the students that adults read things twice.
That's part of it,
all
is
the
to
time.
teach students that that's a natural part of
It's
the
okay,
process to
yeah.
understanding material.
Students might not get it that it's okay to read it more than once. It doesn't mean that you're not intelligent. It just means that maybe you didn't pick it all up the first time. So that was really good to hear in TNL. Okay, I'm ready for a motion. We're spending money.
All you, Mr. Brown.
We're spending, I
I'll
think,
make
I don't know, I think Eric's concerned with all the money we're spending.
That's a lot.
Not
Is that right? Pianos,
Full Board
reading
of Education.
programs, paper, parking
Network
lots.
equipment.
Maybe we could come up with an acronym for all these things.
Broke. That's
B-R-O-K-E.
I'll come forward with a motion with a positive recommendation to the Board of Education to approve the Study Sync resource by McGraw-Hill and the 6-year agreement for an amount not to exceed $150,047.77. The approval of the Study Sync resource shall include all components essential to meeting Wisconsin ELA standards and excludes the standalone SEL lessons until an SEL review is conducted and determined the lesson's utility and alignment.
Second.
Very good. Motion by Eric Brown, second by Tom Barney. Any further discussion? I would like to thank the Teaching and Learning Committee for all their hard work.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a really good reading program, and I'd like to thank Jessica, the middle school principal, for being here this evening. It means a lot to have the principal of the school here, so very good. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And I believe I have one more motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Eric Brown to adjourn, second by Tom Barney. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:53 p.m.
Learning,